Hey ratbags, it's Jade. Special video today talking about the future of Grounded once more. I feel like I'm doing this like every month at this stage. But a few comments from some of you guys worried that Grounded 2 isn't going to be a thing. And where's the confirmation that Grounded 2 is going to happen? And what's happening with Grounded? Why isn't it getting more updates? I've covered that a lot. But there has been some more news recently talking about having no more community streams for Grounded. So definitely a sign that Grounded is done for sure. But does that mean that Grounded 2 is not going to happen? A bit of opinions from some miserable Git YouTubers that seem to focus just on the negative of Grounded have maybe influenced a few comments. So we're going to clear some of that up today and why I'm absolutely 100% guaranteeing there will be a Grounded 2 after the phenomenal success which some YouTubers and other players seem to kind of want to crap on at all times. So let's go through it. Don't have no fear. Grounded 2 will be here. Let's go. So let's get into the news about the Grounded streams. If you don't know, somehow, every week, pretty much for the last 4 years nearly, Grounded have streamed on their Obsidian account on Twitch. They've re-uploaded it on YouTube and they've got loads of guests on. I've been on there a bunch of times. Some of the biggest Grounded creators have been on this show. I'm Jade, Paralyzer, loads of people, a Tiny Pirate Gaming, huge amount of streamers, new and old. Doesn't have to be a big creator, you don't have to be an absolutely only Grounded creator, but as long as you've played and enjoyed the game at some point, you've been invited on to play and take a look and talk to the community a little bit. This is also where we got a ton of information in the past. The devs have shown off updates. We've had interviews with Adam Brennicky, the game's director, and many of the other game developers. In terms of how things go, this has been probably the best example of what you can do with a game while in early access and beyond in how to support and keep engaged with your audience. I wish other games did this, like Art Survival Evolved. Some other game companies like Conan have done it in dribs and drabs, and I'm campaigning for things like Valheim to do this in the future too. It really has been amazing, hence why Grounded's community has always been so good, because the community team behind it do stuff like this. So it is sad, announcing that they're going to be basically doing the last Casually Grounded. Let's play the clip.
And one more bit of news. Not next Wednesday, but the week after will be the last Casually Grounded stream.
So there you go. No more Casually Grounded. They may still stream something for Extra Life where they fundraise for charity and talk to other game developers and do stuff. But in terms of actually just sitting there playing Grounded with guests, that's not going to be a thing. So a sign that Grounded is done. For the people out the back there, I'm going to keep saying it. Grounded isn't going to receive any more content updates. We know this. The devs have iterated it a bunch of times. The technology is just not there to keep adding more stuff to Grounded because of the Nintendo Switch, the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4. I've said a bunch of times that they have literally reached the limit. It's taking longer and longer to add content to the game because they just simply have to think about performance, have to reduce the optimizations and stuff, improve it. There's some big articles going around at the moment that only half of the player base on PlayStation consoles at the moment actually own a PS5, with the other half of active monthly users still playing on their PlayStation 4. So it was a smart move from Grounded to release on PlayStation 4 because literally 50% of the 120 million people that own a PlayStation play on a PlayStation 4. Anyway, we're getting sidetracked, but it's all part of the bigger story, why there will be a Grounded 2. And while people with no real effort or no real looking at research should shut the hell up. Let's go to the stats. Grounded has been in the top 300 top sellers of all time on Steam. Think about the thousands and thousands and thousands of games that come out every year on Steam. So to be in the top 300 is a massive deal. By the number of reviews, you can work out tried and trusted methods of how many copies Grounded has sold. You can compare to other data where other game companies reveal how many people have bought the game. Then take a look at reviews, take a look at the player base. And so although Obsidian and Microsoft don't reveal official figures like this for PC, it's easy to go and look if you spend just 2 seconds of research. There are plenty of aggregate sites out there that will list exactly the kind of stats that I'm talking about. According to a lot of the actual trackers, Grounded has made over $56 million on Steam alone. It has sold 2.2 million copies based on the average playtime of players, the amount of people checking in on a monthly basis, and of course the amount of reviews it's had. Either way, that's a huge success. Any game company out there is going to take 2 million copies sold. And this is only on PC. Some negative Nellies always have said that Grounded's player base is a sign that the game is dying or won't receive support. And I'm going to call out names because I'm not a pussy. Mediocre Milton. Yes, you, my friend. Weren't you the guy that said Grounded wouldn't receive any updates? And you did this video within days of it coming out in 1.0. You said Grounded was done. You helped create a negative atmosphere because some idiots still watched and believed what you said. And the devs had to have a bit of a hard time because people were saying this in their streams, comment on socials, all because you decided that Grounded was done. Without not an ounce of actual research or only basing your research on player monthly users. Literally ignoring Xbox and the success of it. It's true, Grounded has dipped a lot in terms of player numbers sometimes, but each big update has brought lots of players back. They have had healthy numbers. Considering it's a co-op game for 4 players, not an online service game, not a server-based game, they're doing okay. That's why it baffles me and enrages me that other creators just simply want to crap on it just based on stuff like this. The other big marker of success, of course, is Game Pass and Xbox. Grounded is a Xbox game. It sold 2 million copies on Steam, but its main target, its main focus is Xbox. Because there are a lot more younger players, Grounded is marketed as kids game. Yes, it does have some adult tones. It may be able to be played by adults like me, and we enjoy it for what it is, a pretty tough survival game. But don't be misled, the game is clearly marketed at a younger player base. We're not talking Roblox age, but we are talking around 11 to maybe 18-year-olds. That is the biggest player base that plays this game. It isn't 7-year-olds, it isn't 30-year-olds, it is that demographic. The player base is very young-minded, but not that young that it's annoying like Minecraft. Either way, 20 million people have tried Grounded on Games Pass or Xbox or have played it. And that's not even taking into account the PlayStation sales or the Switch sales recently. So this, I'm sure, does include Steam, and maybe it includes maybe a couple free weekends here or there. But by and large, I would say about 15 million people have actually played Grounded on Xbox or Games Pass. They are huge numbers. Not every game on Games Pass gets this kind of traction. Only Sea of Thieves is slightly doing better. Fallout 76 apparently was doing a bit worse than Grounded the last time they did one of these. And then they announced that it hit 15 million people. But now Grounded's overtaken that game as well. So Grounded is more popular than State of Decay. It's more popular than Fallout 76. And like I said, it's only just behind games like Sea of Thieves. If we take a look at PlayStation and PlayStation 5, you'll see that Grounded is in the top selling games for April. Ahead of games like Dragon's Dogma, Madden, Tom Clancy Rainbow Six Siege, Rise of the Ronin, which is relatively new, Skur Ritual was brand new, and a ton of other games that have always sold pretty well. Grounded is in the top 10. In fact, it's doing even better in Europe compared to America. So hopefully you're getting the idea. That baffles me how anyone can really think that the game isn't going to receive a sequel. So just before Grounded released that 1.0, Phil did this interview with Adam Brennicky. So in follow-up interviews with other outlets, Phil Spencer said that Grounded is now a franchise. And we know that from the animated TV show, although we haven't heard much about that in a while. That is still apparently on the works. Adam Brennicky confirmed this in one of the last big interviews he'd done last year. So you're not telling everyone you're doing a franchise that this game is going to be something that's going to have an animated TV show if you're not planning for the future with Grounded 2. So the negative stuff and the stuff that could make people a bit more worried that Grounded 2 might not happen. The big news over the last few weeks was that Xbox is shutting down 4 different studios, all made underneath the Bethesda publishing arm. People behind Dishonored, the first game, Hi-Fi Rush, which Microsoft really talked up a big storm last year. These games, their studios, are being shut down. With them having to spend a lot of money on Activision, the buyout, they're clearly cutting costs, and they've let go of a bunch of people that work on Microsoft itself, as well as across some of their other gaming divisions. So no doubt, this can give a little bit more skewed view on things. Microsoft aren't just suddenly stopping making games, and they're not going to just only make Call of Duty. Yes, they may not want to make as many bets on smaller games in the future, like Hi-Fi Rush, or games that are really niche, like Dishonored, but it doesn't mean they're going to stop games that are popular. Undoubtedly, a bit worrying for people that work at Microsoft and any of the other game studios, since it was all a surprise, but you've got to believe that a game has sold 2 million copies on Steam, maybe 4 or 5 million copies on Xbox, plus 20 million players in total played it. That game's got to be good for a sequel. You take into account that Grounded on PlayStation has also been played 50% more than that Hi-Fi Rush game, so clearly a success on PlayStation. 90% more than Pentiment, the other game that Obsidian made, a smaller game a little while ago, then Grounded is absolutely surefire going to be the next game that's going to come from Microsoft and Obsidian after Avowed and Outer Worlds 2. And here's the other thing. People will point that maybe they're going to be working on Avowed or Outer Worlds 2. The way that Grounded worked, it was made by literally 13 people. Following the release of Eternity 2 Deadfire, the team at Obsidian Entertainment began brainstorming ideas for a survival game. While the majority of the staff in Obsidian worked on the Outer Worlds, a small team of 13 people began the production of Grounded. Costs matter. If you are having 200 developers make a game and it sells 2 million copies, that might not be enough to actually keep them working on a sequel. Even though 2 million copies is a good number, if you've got that many developers, it could be an issue supporting them for the next 5 years making another game. Grounded was worked on for about 18 months, nearly 2 years before its full actual release on early access. So it's a cheap game to have made. Even now they're only up to like 23 people, 24 people. Yes, they do get help from other departments, and I've said this before, they've got the money to go and hire Double 11 to do the port work for them. They've had previous help from Black Shamrock to help make assets and do extra artwork. But by and large, the core team that have made Grounded are still relatively small, under 30 people. That is still tiny. So to be talking about potentially 6 million sales, 20 million people playing it, all the sales now generated on PlayStation and Switch, you'd have to be a freaking idiot to be out there saying that Grounded 2 is not happening. And this is what I come with. I come with facts and research. I come with what you can look at in terms of history. I come with the data that we're being given. If you spend just 2 minutes of time looking at it, instead of just running your mouth off being negative again, just because you're weird and you want to create some sort of hate bait just to get views. Don't get me wrong, we've all done it. And I purposely did some hate bait recently because I wanted to see some new eyes and see what people thought about potentially what's going to happen after Grounded. So yes, I put in my title, Grounded is dead. 10 new games Grounded players might like. I know Grounded's not dead, but it is definitely at the end of its life for now. No more new content drops, just some balance fixes. No more community streams. If you take a look at more articles from Microsoft and stuff that come out in recently, they want to make smaller games that are bigger hits. So they're not about to go and can a franchise that has built up this loyal following that's followed them for 4 years. They've just launched it on PlayStation where it's doing incredibly well. It's cheap to make because the team, even if they expand, double their expansion, it's still going to be less than 50 people. Grounded 2 is going to happen, and Grounded 2 I reckon will be announced by the end of this year or at the very beginning of next year, and I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't see it playable and game preview again by 2026. In fact, I think it will come out at the end of 2025. It could be a bit longer, but I don't think it's going to be that long. I think we could get an announcement, not this summer, but maybe towards the end of the year, and yeah, we'll be playing it maybe next summer or next end of year 2025. The other factor is as well that Grounded have just got Double 11 to go ahead and basically help them with their port work. Now Double 11 have had a bit of a mixed bag in the past. They've done things like make Minecraft Dungeons, or ported it at least, or helped develop it. They've also done some pretty crap ports like Rust on console. But by and large, the PlayStation versions of Grounded look to be good. I'll bet the Switch version is just problematic because it is the Switch. It's unusual for Microsoft to use something like Double 11, but generally they have used much cheaper outfits. So the reason they're probably using Double 11 is because whatever happens next, Grounded 2 might not just be Obsidian, it might be Obsidian and Double 11, not just doing the port work, but actually helping them make assets and create stuff with the game, and then doing the port work to release on PlayStation and Switch relatively soon. And lastly, talking about cut content. Something I've covered for ages and ages. There's so much we found over the years in Grounded that has never made it. Whether it's the bugs and insects like the lizard, weapons and things like boomerangs, boxing gloves and more. All them ideas could absolutely be utilised in a Grounded 2. Why carry on updating a game that's not going to maybe generate as much revenue for you now since you've just released it on PlayStation and Switch? It doesn't have microtransactions, it doesn't have DLC, and devs have never wanted to add them things because they're actually decent. So let's just make a Grounded 2. We can sell it for 30, 40 bucks, make a ton of money since everyone will be hyped since it's reached so many. It's the most logical, common sense thing you can think of. Yes, absolutely, the news about the closures of some of these studios did make me even question myself. But then I looked back and I looked at all the evidence, I looked at all the data. There is no way Grounded 2 is not being worked on. There's nothing to say the devs are being moved on to Avowed or Outer Worlds 2. They've always worked on Grounded, and that's the way it's just been. Some studios do move a lot of developers from one team to another to help finish stuff off, but in the case of Avowed, the game's meant to be coming out later on this year, so they don't need the concept artists or the 3D modelers. All that stuff has already been done. At best, they might take some of the QA staff or maybe the community management people to help out, hence why we are getting maybe the end of the Casually Grounded streams, because they're going to be starting ramping up and helping out do stuff for Avowed. But the game director, Adam Brannicky, the designers, the lead artist, the concept artists, they're going to be working on Grounded too, because there's nothing for them to do on Avowed. It's coming out, it's already done. They're just in the last stages of polish. They're not making new creatures for that game. It's all about bug testing and refining certain bits and bobs. Outer Worlds 2, maybe you could argue, since that game's a bit of a way away, but as far as we know, they had a separate complete team for that. Again, that game was a success, and so it doesn't need the input from another small team, since obviously Grounded is much bigger than Outer Worlds was in terms of players that have bought the game and players that have actually played it. And there you go, I rest my case, Your Honour. There's nothing wrong in having an opinion. You can talk about something and decide for yourself that actually, you know what, I don't think Grounded's got much of a future. That's on you. But what I ask is that people, instead of just regurgitating stupid shit other creators say, you actually look up stuff yourself. You look at the bigger, wider picture, and you get educated about how games are made and how they're sold. I'm passionate about this because Grounded means a lot to me. It's been successful for me, it's made me a lot of views and ergo a lot of money. But I've never felt as happy covering a game as I have with Grounded, because it's such a good community. It's a joy to make content on this game. I got so sick of Ark, I didn't want to play the game, and I still don't want to play the game sometimes. That game is a shit show. It's run by devs that are just incompetent and pushed through by some major horrible corporation that owns them from China. Now Microsoft, they're no angels, and I do worry about what potentially they could try and influence if they did do a Grounded 2. Will we see battle passes and microtransactions and all that nonsense? But I don't think so. I think they see the value in smaller games that have done well, captured the imagination. But yeah, Grounded means a lot to me. You guys mean a lot to me, and that's why it's important that I correct this stuff. It's a talking point, I love debating it, and if anyone, including Mediocre, wants to talk to me about this, I invite him once again to have a chat with me. But as usual, he's too scared because he doesn't like hearing anyone actually confront him with any facts or cold hard truths. It's all just about his negative opinion, which is really odd since it's given him so much money himself and so many views over the last few years. For someone that keeps quitting Grounded and saying that Grounded is this and that and the game devs are stupid, as well as bullying other content creators in the past, he sure does keep coming back to it. You guys, you watch who you want to watch. And at various times, Mediocre's made some great guides. But for the longest of times now, he's also been just a negative little bitch. And for me, I personally don't want to subscribe or watch someone that's just constantly dogging on the game when the game is actually good. So you guys, you obviously watch and believe who you want. But hopefully I've given you some cold facts today talking about the history of Grounded and what they've said and where it's going. Don't listen to negative Nellies. Grounded 2 will happen for sure. And when it does, I hope that anyone you have been listening to, you quickly unsubscribe from, knowing that they've got it wrong once again. Grounded is going to wind down now. I'm doing Let's Plays, I'm going to be doing live streams, but I am looking at other games to roll in, just like I have done in the past, like Lego and Core Keeper. But Grounded's always going to be a big part of this channel. When we do get news about the sequel, the animated TV show, any balance changes, any hot fixes, I'll be there first as always. Grounded's a great game, and if you've moved on, good for you. But if you haven't played Grounded in a while, now they've started doing balance changes to improve and make New Game Plus actually good, I recommend you give it another try. It's simply one of the best games going. Until next time, Ratbags, I'll catch you later.